What's going on, everybody? It's Tom.
And it's Jamie. Welcome to the Chronicles of Podcast.
The Chronicles of Bloodstock 2024.
We are members of Disposable, thrash band from Edinburgh. I'm Billy, I'm the bass player and the vocalist.
I'm Jack and I play guitar.
And it's an absolute pleasure to have Scottish representation on this show. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Absolutely, thanks for having us.
Not at all. It's absolutely wonderful. How are your personal Fridays treating you?
It's been pretty incredible so far, to be honest. We were off to a flying start. It was like we're first on the New Blood stage this morning, so it was a really early start. Lots of just get up and go-ness to the whole day, really. So before we had a chance to really think about anything, we were backstage getting ready to do the thing, which it's kind of nerve-wracking going on so early and first, just generally, it's before we usually do anything in a day, let alone play a gig. But the turnout was kind of incredible. It couldn't have been much busier than it was. It was energetic in there, so yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Jack?
Yeah, it was class. It was awesome. I think being so early as well, like we weren't really sure. We've never been to Bloodstock before, even as punters.
Well, welcome.
Welcome. Yeah, it's such an immaculate vibe.
Yeah.
Straight away. Walked in last night and we were kind of like, why haven't we been here every year forever? But yeah, so like we weren't really sure what to expect with this morning. Kind of like we have a whole fucking inflatable shark fucking shtick during our set.
Amazing.
So I'm kind of haven't even made a sound on my guitar yet. Blowing up sharks, turn around and there's already loads of people looking at me and I'm like, oh yeah, cunt. It was cool. And then we had a wee power cut quite like halfway through our first song.
Oh fuck!
Which was really scary. But then by that point you're kind of like, well, it's cool. Everything's class from here on in, man.
It's almost like Mastermind. I've started, so I'll finish.
Really class morning.
Good. No, I'm pleased. I'm pleased to hear it. And obviously the sun's been unbelievable. The weather's been incredible here today. So
Totally, I'm burning. I feel like my shoulders are getting
yeah, dude. I feel you. I'm with you. Being a redhead and Scottish, it's just like fucked. I'm surprised not talking to you as a puddle. Like, you know what I mean? So, but going on early must be kind of daunting in a way because obviously you think, are people hungover? Are they not going to be? They're still asleep, that sort of thing. So like the beautiful thing with Bloodstock is that fans will come and watch regardless of what time it is, regardless of how fucked they are, regardless of how tired they are. So yeah, it's good to hear that you had a nice crowd.
I think it's one of those things we kind of thought as well. It was like, we've heard a few people saying it's an awesome slot. We were kind of trying to find people that had played that slot, any interviews by them for previous years. But like if anyone, I think we're like you were saying, you're going to hit up whoever gets the slot next year and be like, here, don't worry about it. It's honestly fucking class.
You heard that right?
Don't worry about it.
I mean, Simon said in his email to us, don't worry about the fact that you're on first. It's a notoriously good slot. And like, you've no reason not to believe it, but it is hard to believe at 10:30 that there's going to be all those people there. So you still take it with a pinch of salt. But right enough, because the gate wasn't even open when we were on the stage originally, like the gate to the main arena. So like no one is there. And then the gate opens and suddenly everybody's there. So in the space of about 2 minutes, you're going, oh, this went from really daunting to really exciting. Not that you're not excited to begin with, but do you know what I mean? Like your mind's at rest immediately when you see how many people just storm up to the stage and are just immediately waiting for you to start. And you're kind of going, sweet, this is all my worries.
Beautiful moment, yeah.
All my worries have gone until the power cut happened, and then they came back for maybe 5 minutes, and then the power came back on and they disappeared again. So
good. But compared to Disposable show to a Disposable festival set, do you change the setup accordingly? So if people aren't so familiar with yourself, say you just drop all the bangers in.
Kinda, yeah. I would say for this one we definitely put more effort into structuring a set that was maybe dynamically interesting. Because I mean, as a kind of thrash band, we've got a lot of songs that are about 4 minutes long and fast, so like we could put together a whole set of stuff like that, but we've also got quite a groovy sort of technical element to some of our releases, so we decided to just pick and choose all the ones that go down the best and just do a sort of greatest hits set, I guess.
I think it's kind of fun as well because like a lot of that stuff that goes down really well, we've played it in Scotland a lot, so it's like, that's boring now, whereas everything's new to everyone here, so it's we can really cherry pick kind of all the catchy ones that have always gone down. No one here's bored of them yet, so.
And also just crowd interaction is a bit different at the festival vibe, especially in the morning where people are still half asleep essentially, and your job is to wake them up. But they're not necessarily wanting to mosh in shout their heads off for the first song, but by the time you get sort of 2/3 of the way through the set, everyone's sort of lubricated and ready to go. So it was really apparent that everyone warmed up with us, kind of thing. It's just a shame that the moment like you hit that peak, the half an hour is done, and you're just kind of like, wow, that went so fast, man.
I was about to say, I know you're enjoying it, so that means it felt like it's about 2 minutes long then. It just went so
Totally.
fast.
I mean, time stood still when the power cut happened. Just because you're kind of like, oh, what the fuck is happening? Because, I mean, if it took 20 minutes to get the power back on, our set would have been gone.
Yeah, they were so on it though.
So they were very, very quick at getting it started. So within the space of 5 minutes, we were back playing again and forgotten about it. But
Cool.
it still goes very fast.
Like, does that mean we're going to have to cut things? And they're like, nah, like, you know, no, you've not done anything. Like, play your full
That's
set.
good. That's
and then you're kind of like, cool. Because I think they said before we started, they were like, all the crew and stuff, like, super helpful, super on it. And they were like, make sure you enjoy yourself. It's 30 minutes, but it goes so fast. But then it was sort of 45 minutes for us because of all the weird stuff that happened. It still went really fast. But it was like, it's going to be the shortest 30 minutes of your life. And it was kind of like the shortest, yeah.
Before you're going to have to Alex Terrible that thing and just shout it out to the fucking crowd and hope everyone hears you.
Yeah, well, the mics go down, so you can't even really explain anything either. So, like, you are kind of a bit of a dead duck when there's no power. So we just got a Mexican wave and kept doing the Mexican wave, because it was the only thing that we could kind of organise for people to do.
I love that. Everything's gone to pot, what can we do? Mexican wave? Sorted.
We're a bit of a cursed band in that regard, so we're quite a well-oiled machine for how to act when disaster strikes.
I mean, that's a good
So long as you don't play the rest of your set with like a grimace on your face as if something's ruined, then you'll be fine. So long as you just like start smiling again immediately when you're back and take up where you left off instead of like let it play with your head or something like that.
So us as a podcast, we're ambassadors for the Sophie Lancaster Foundation. Are you aware of Sophie and the story?
Yeah, for sure.
So we've been talking to people this weekend at the festival. So basically, we all know growing up, being part of this community, we went through shit. We had things thrown at us, whether that be physically or verbally. So what we're trying to find out now is if that has followed you into adulthood. So is this something that still happens with you today? Maybe at work, going to the doctors, or whatever it may be, just living your life where you're given a side eye, a snide comment, whatever it may be, because you've got piercings, tattoos, hair, whatever it may be. Is that something you still experience today?
Every now and again, for sure, yeah. I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but when we were in high school, that was like the golden era of the Scottish Ned. You know, that it's not quite a thing that exists so much anymore, but just like the sort of person who would just chuck out abuse at someone for the way they looked.
Yeah.
I was probably lucky not to be on the receiving end of too much of it, but it was certainly something that was, if you didn't have your wits about you at high school where I was at, you were a metal fan and you were one of the goths or whatever.
Yeah.
Which was anyone who wore a black t-shirt became a goth. It's like not a true representation of what a goth is at all. But if you wore a metal band t-shirt, you were one of the goths, the goth kids.
Yeah.
If you didn't have your wits about you, you could kind of let other people interfere with that and you'd get a bit of a slagging. I was lucky in the sense that I kind of had those wits about me to snark back before anything got out of hand. But I've certainly, I feel like I've witnessed it a lot more than I've experienced it myself. But you've probably had a bit more experience with the guy that stole your shoes and shit.
Oh yeah.
Sorry to bring up your traumas.
Yeah. It's really weird because I was really into thrash, but I had Converse on, and apparently that was really emo. So some boy, it's funny, he actually does a podcast now. He's really lovely these days. He doesn't remember it, but he did batter me and chuck my shoes on the Edinburgh trail track. And it was cool because there was a bunch of other alternative dude that chipped in for a pair of shoes for me. But someone else told him about that, and he was like, he keeps saying, I really want to get you on my podcast. I've never had any mail yet. Also, what shoe size are you? And I'm like, dude, it was like 15 years ago. It's honestly fucking...
That's interesting though, because I guess it was more of like a civil war between alternative sub-genres.
And the weird thing was, I was well into thrash. They were just really elitist and didn't bother to ask what kind of music I like. You're an emo kid. I think nowadays I'm like lucky enough that I work in a metal bar. It always kind of, every one of my jobs is in the alt community anyway, so everyone's kind of looking out for each other. I'm a sort of retail guy. I've got like some tattoos and I wear the metal bands t-shirts occasionally at work and stuff like that. I kind of work in a nice sort of independently run shop in a nice area, so
a lot of people will come in and make a little bit of a judgment about you, but once they get to know you, and I think this goes for most, if not all, metalheads, is that really most people are gentle. Yeah, I think everyone looks kind of aggro and loud, but there's not actually that many people in the metal community that really fully live up to the look of a metalhead. Like everyone I know is actually just quite a quiet, gentle soul.
Yeah.
They've got this outlet for all their energy, and does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely it does. I always find it funny. It's like, you're actually all right, you are, aren't you? I thought you were going to be a bit funny, but
It's not actually.
Actually.
Well, like I'll like occasionally be like that cheeky bastard at work and like hand my business card to like some completely innocent person that's never listened to metal, just like who's being kind and taking an interest in the band that I'm in, because they'll ask me about my day and I'm saying I'm going down to play this festival, and they go, oh, what's the name of your band and all this, and you go through the polite conversation. I'm like, you will hate this, but if you want to listen to it, and everyone comes back and says, holy shit, you're such like a nice quiet boy though. I would never expect you to get up stage and do that, and kind of everyone I know who's in a band is a little bit like that to an extent. But yeah, we've maybe been lucky that we've never been bullied for the fact, but certainly witnessed it happen, yeah, for sure.
So obviously, when we were growing up, and 2007, what happened with Sophie, then you fast forward to 2024, the world is a very, very different place now. So do you think it's easier to grow up as part of this community now, or still challenges out there?
Maybe, yeah. I think just the way the world's going, at least. Well, you say that, but then I'm thinking about the riots that have just happened in England, and I'm going, is it actually going the way that I'm about to say that it's going? I think it's certainly inclusiveness maybe on the left-hand side of politics is going further left, and inexclusiveness on the right-hand side of politics is going further right. So the spectrum's kind of widening in that way. So I guess like certain people are perhaps even more open than they once were in a sense now than they've ever been, but maybe other people are even less tolerant of anything that's different to what they would consider to be normal. I don't know. There's definitely a sprog of young metalheads that have cropped up in Edinburgh recently, and they seem to all be quite confident, cool people.
Yeah. I think as well there's a lot of like kind of like alt chic sort of things that are pretty acceptable now. Like there's like so the bar that I work at, and there on either side of us is a couple like poppy normie kind of bars, and you see like kids who are clearly like, you chat to them and they're like, what, this Mayhem t-shirt? I don't know, I just found it sort of thing, you know what I mean? Corpse paint and everything, and they're like, yeah, I'm here for like Bubblegum Tuesdays or whatever, and it's like proper like they don't listen to metal or heavy stuff, but they're quite comfortable with the piercings and the tattoos and the vibe, and it's a fashionable thing. So I guess it's easier to sort of, they're not going to get the same flack that you might have.
Certainly alternative fashion, like strictly speaking about the fashion, and maybe piercings and tattoos is maybe considered a lot less of an alternative thing now. Most people I know who are under 30 have got a piercing or a tattoo. I don't know, I come from that world of people that are more likely to have it, but there's certainly a lot of people that I know are not metalheads who have a whole bunch of tattoos, and it's more like an art expression thing. It's not necessarily like maybe in the 2000s where it was like, if you've got a sleeve tattoo, you're probably into metal. Like it's not. I don't think that's quite the same as it once was. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not really young enough anymore to have my finger in that pie. But yeah, there's definitely a wave of young people that have started coming out to shows in Scotland that seem to be quite confident with the way that they are. But I think it comes down to the individual as well. Some people are just very confident and they'll dress in whatever they want and they don't give a shit what anyone has to say. Other people are, expressing themselves through their fashion because they don't feel comfortable to do it with words, or there's a whole variety of different things. So it probably comes down to the individual, and if you get the wrong two together, all of a sudden one person might be very vulnerable in that situation.
Absolutely. I remember seeing a video on the cursed TikTok app not long ago, and there was this girl who'd been like, de-gothing myself for work, and the comments were like, why the fuck are you de-gothing yourself? That's you.
Yeah.
Just go to work.
I think in the workplace as well, there's definitely more acceptance to, like, when I first got some tattoos and piercings, my dad, in fact more likely my mum to be fair, was probably like, oh, you'll not get a job like this or a job like that if you. And I'm kind of like, I don't think the world is like that anymore, unless you're maybe working a very specific brand or something that maybe are such a big brand with such a specific look that they're willing to just be arseholes about it and not care. But I think generally speaking, in the workplace, it's probably more acceptable now than it's ever been to look alternative, I guess.
Yeah. So, bringing it back to yourselves, brand new album out in November. How excited are we for the release?
Super excited. Probably more excited than I've been to release anything in a long time.
Oh,
to be
wow,
honest.
okay.
It's very different to what we've been doing for a while. The kind of concept that we had, we almost wanted to do like a split with ourselves. Billy used to do a lot of the writing, and it was kind of like, what if we don't do this big like high production kind of thing, and we just, everyone gets 3 or 4 songs, they get like last say on that, they write their own songs, we write them within a week. And the original idea was like, you go in, you write your songs, you record them, and you release them at the end of that week. That was 7 years ago. We fucking lockdown happened. We did
Welcome to the way we
stuff,
function.
But then we got around to like, we were trying to figure out what to do next, and Billy just kind of went ahead and wrote a whole shit ton of his songs. And he was like, well, I've had these for ages, you all better hurry up and write your songs. So it's very kind of stripped back, punky. We've always been quite punky in ethos, but a lot more kind of like, it's more about the message than about the sort of musical technicality, if you like.
I think we just wanted to get away from really like overworking music to the point where, you know, stuff was either became too complicated or too hard to play, or the message wasn't clear or something like that. So we just wanted to make a conscious effort to do something that was a lot more stripped back and to the point musically, to the point lyrically, like have our opinions on things more apparent in the lyrics and stuff like that. But yeah, that was 7 years ago, and we got sidetracked by a bunch of other projects and stuff, just because it was almost a little bit of a novelty idea when we first came up with it. So it went on the back burner when a more serious idea came along. But then I guess currently we've all just been trying to wear our emotions and our opinions on our sleeve a little bit more in general, just in life, just making a stand on things instead of just being silent on matters that we care about. And I would never ever go for someone for wanting to stay politically neutral, but I think we just want to step one step in the direction that we actually belong, and put that into the music.
I think as well, we've always been somewhat politically driven and opinionated, but we've always wrapped it up in a metaphor or a story or something, because it's like, you don't want to touch that. And then we were the album's called It's Blood That Trickles Down. It's kind of a play on the whole trickle-down economics thing being a fucking sham and everyone's struggling. It's kind of, it's a bit more in your face, like, we're all kind of having a hard time sort of thing, you know?
Yeah.
But definitely excited to release it, just because it's so different. It is so different, and I think some people, at least different by our standards, I guess, but it'll probably throw quite a lot of people off in terms of that's not what I thought they would do with the next album, which again is cool, because it's nice to throw a curveball out there and stuff every now and again. Most bands try and get technically better as they go on, whereas we've kind of went, let's get fucking technically worse here, and see what happens, see where that road takes us.
Incredible. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time out and chat with us.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Have a great weekend.
Have a good one.
Cheers.
Cheers.